All right, today we're doing a deep, systematic analysis of a really intricate exegetical lesson on Surah Maryam. Think of this as a forensic examination. We're going to deconstruct the arguments presented piece by piece to really understand the logic at play.
So everything we're about to discuss, it's all grounded in this single source, an exegetical lesson by Ayatollah Javadi Amoli. By approaching this text forensically, treating it as our primary document, we can really unpack the nuanced theological reasoning happening inside its arguments.
Okay, here's our game plan. We've structured our analysis around 5 key areas. We'll kick things off with Zechariah's prayer. Then, we'll look at the Annunciation to Maryam, the nature of the divine miracle itself, followed by a close analysis of the term ruh or spirit. We'll wrap it all up with Maryam's seclusion and the divine sustenance she received.
So let's jump right into our first point of inquiry. It centers on a really profound interpretive puzzle, and it has to do with the prophet Zechariah and his prayer for a child.
This brings us to a huge question that the commentator tackles head-on. If a prophet has perfect, unwavering faith, why would he ask God for a sign after his prayer was answered? I mean, doesn't that imply maybe a little bit of doubt?
Well, right here we find the core of the argument. The request wasn't born from doubt at all. It was for the sake of something called itminan. Now, this term is crucial. It's more than just peace of mind. It's a profound tranquility of the heart, an absolute certainty that doesn't just come from intellectual belief, but from tangible, lived experience.
The reasoning here unfolds in 3 clear stages. First, it's about shifting from intellectual belief to experiential certainty, going from knowing to seeing. Second, it was a practical thing. He needed this personal certainty so he could announce this incredible news to his people with absolute conviction. And third, and this is a really critical distinction, he wasn't questioning God's power in general. He was just looking for confirmation that his own prayer had been heard and accepted.
And the source text itself makes this distinction with absolute precision. The commentary emphasizes that the ayah, the sign, was sought to confirm the istijabat, the specific acceptance of his prayer. So it was a personal confirmation, not some universal test of God's power.
Now, this theme of divine communication just keeps going as we move to the Annunciation to Maryam. Here, we're going to focus specifically on how the Spirit manifested and appeared.
The commentary is very specific, that the ruah, the Spirit that appeared to Maryam, took the form of a basharan sawyan. That means a perfectly proportioned, complete human male. So we're not talking about some abstract vision or a shimmer of light. This was a distinct, tangible presence that she could perceive as a fully formed man.
And the message that was delivered? It was incredibly direct and potent. This wasn't just news about a child. It was the announcement of a word from him, a direct creative act. The child was immediately given his name, his titles, the Messiah, Jesus, son of Maryam. This established his unique divine origin right from the get-go.
This brings us to a really fascinating and methodically argued comparison that the commentator makes, one that actually ranks the miraculous nature of different acts of divine creation.
So here's the core thesis. The commentator argues that the creation of Adam from inanimate matter, from dust, with no parents whatsoever, is theologically framed as a greater and more profound sign of divine power than the birth of Jesus from a mother alone.
This comparison really clarifies the logic. Adam's creation was life from non-life, from inanimate dust, with no biological precedent. The birth of Jesus, while obviously a profound miracle, still originated from a living human being. So the argument is that creating life from non-life represents the greater demonstration of divine creative power.
And let's be clear, this isn't an interpretation we're applying to the text. The source material makes this argument explicitly. It directly juxtaposes the 2 events, the birth of Jesus and the creation of Adam, to establish this theological hierarchy of miracles. It's an argument being made directly by the commentator.
Okay, let's zoom in now on one of the most important theological terms in this whole narrative, ruach. We're going to deconstruct how the commentator analyzes the identity and the function of this spirit. The analysis here is very, very precise. The ruh sent to Maryam is not interpreted as some generic spirit or abstract force. It is identified specifically as Ruh al-Qudus, the Holy Spirit, a distinct, powerful divine entity sent to execute a very specific command from God. The commentary describes this Ruh, the Holy Spirit, as the actual agent of creation. It was this entity that breathed the divine command, the creative word, into Maryam, and that's what initiated the miraculous conception. So in this framework, the Spirit is the direct instrument of God's will.
Okay, let's move to the final part of our analysis.
we're going to focus on the powerful events surrounding Maryam's childbirth and the miracles that unfolded while she was in seclusion.
The narrative sequence here is just incredibly vivid. Maryam withdraws to be alone. The pains of labor drive her to grab onto the trunk of a dry, seemingly lifeless palm tree. And right there, in this moment of crisis, a divine command comes: shake the trunk. From that one simple act, miraculous sustenance just appears. Fresh, ripe dates fall from the dead wood, and a stream materializes at her feet.
And what's so powerful here, as the text describes, is the symbolism. This isn't just about providing food and water. It's a direct, tangible demonstration of God's power to bring life and sustenance from a source that looks completely barren and dead. It's a perfect mirror of the miracle of life taking place inside her. So let's recap the key conclusions from our forensic examination. First, prophetic requests for signs come from a need for experiential certainty, that itminan, not from doubt. Second, the creation of Adam is theologically framed as a greater miracle than the virgin birth. Third, the Ruh in this context is identified specifically as the Holy Spirit. And finally, the miracles of sustenance for Maryam show God's direct, hands-on providence.
And this leaves us with a final thought. When you engage in this kind of forensic breakdown of a miracle's theological components, just like this commentary does, how does that process affect our perception of its mystery? Does this systematic analysis deepen our understanding of faith, or does it maybe transform it into something else entirely?